Good morning, students.
Good.
So, students, yesterday we were talking about type 1 hypersensitivity reactions. So, I'm sure you must have gone back and you know checked the uh, notes, right? So, any questions? Anything you want to understand in that? Okay, so no questions. And I can see only 6 students have joined by this time. Okay, so I don't know why students have not joined, but let's start with the class. So let me just share the slides and we can start first with, yesterday we talked about how we can diagnose type 1 hypersensitivity, right? Because see, if some person comes to the doctor with some signs of runny nose or whatever signs, right? So you need to detect whether it is because of hypersensitivity reaction or some other reason, right? So in that case, you need to see if the Ig levels are high, okay? And if yes, they are high, then you also want to know against which allergen you are allergic, right? So you also need to do those tests. So if you remember, yesterday we talked about 3 tests major: the skin testing, uh, wrist, and rast, right? So can anyone tell me what is the difference between wrist and rast? What is the major difference between wrist and rast? Yes, Tanvi. Tanvi, switch on your camera and give the answer.
Yes. So RIST is a method used to determine the serum level of total IgE
Right.
antibody,
Yes, correct.
and RAST is for to detect serum level of IgE, that is specific for any allergen.
Yes, good. So, rest will only give you the levels of total IgE in the serum, okay? But RAST will give you an idea of, uh, you know, antibody which is specific for a specific allergen. So you can get to know you are allergic to which particular allergen. So it is more specific, okay? Okay, so now if it's found out that yes, you are allergic or you are having type 1 hypersensitivity reaction, then how to treat it? Okay, so let's see how it is treated. Okay, so this we have already seen REST and RAST, and it's clear to you. So Tanvi has very clearly, told the difference between REST and RAST. Okay, so now let's see the therapy, how to treat it. Okay, so obvious first step is to avoid contact with known allergens. So, by RAST, okay, even if you have not done RAST, you know, right? So, like, just for example, suppose you are allergic to a particular soap. So you know that if you again, take bath with the soap, you'll have rashes on your skin, right? So what's the best step? Avoid that soap, right? So that is the obvious first step. Avoid contact with the known allergen. So if you know that you are allergic to food, but some nuts or seafood or whatever, then you should avoid those food products, right? So avoid those known allergens, right? Now, sometime, often the removal of house pets, dust control measures, or avoidance of offending food can eliminate a type 1 response. So, as I said, that if you avoid that, product, or if you avoid that food, so you can obviously be safe from these allergic reactions. But sometimes what happens, you cannot avoid those allergens, right? Just for example, if you move out of your house and you think that there won't be any dust in the air, that is not possible, and you cannot do anything about it, right? Now the pollens, they are in the air, again you cannot do anything about it, right? So elimination of these allergens, right? It's a physical impossibility. You, huh? कर लिया. हाँ. So it's a physical impossibility. You cannot do anything about it. However, there can be some means of intervention, right? Just for example, you can wear a mask. Okay, so a person who is allergic to suppose dust or pollens, so whenever they are going out, they can wear a mask. And if they are wearing mask, the particles will just get stuck in the mask, so they won't get into your body, right? So you can think of some interventions, right? Okay. So those are, the basic things you can avoid, or you can get some intervention, right? But then you need to also, as scientific people, we also need to develop some drugs for such conditions, right? So knowledge of mechanism of mast cell degranulation and mediators involved in type 1 reaction opened the way to drug therapy for allergies. So students, you know, one of the questions that we always ask is like, when we are doing this basic research, what comes out of it? Okay, so you can only develop a vaccine, or you can develop a drug, right, only when you have the knowledge, right? So if you remember, हमने signaling pathway की बात की थी, right? So if you know the signaling pathway, only then you can target some points, right? So you should have the knowledge of mechanism of that particular event. So in this case, we with time, the knowledge of mechanism of mast cell degranulation, we were able to understand it. We knew what are the different mediators involved in this kind of reaction. So that opened the way to drug therapies, right? So now you can look at that pathway, and you can see, okay, if I add this drug, it will block this point, okay, and then you know your reaction will not take place, okay. Or if I block this molecule, the reaction will not go ahead, right? So you should have that knowledge. And with this, there was development of antihistamines, okay. If you remember, we said that the granular content, okay, it includes histamines. So you are making antihistamines which will uh, make these histamines ineffective, right? So what these antihistamines do, these drugs act by binding to histamine receptors. Okay. Now, students, you can imagine histamine is released, okay, and we are putting in histamine receptors. So these receptors will go and bind to the target cell. So when this histamine will go and try to bind to its receptor, the receptor is already engaged. So histamines will not be able to bind. And when histamines will not bind, there will not be smooth muscle contraction or vasodilation. Okay, clear? So that is one way. So we have antihistamines. Then there are several other drugs which block release of allergic mediators. Okay. Now, the problem is the release of that granular content. Okay. If you can avoid that content to come out, that is what you want, right? So there are several drugs which block the release of these allergic mediators by interfering with various biochemical steps in mast cell activation. So you yesterday saw that whole diagram, right? The biochemical steps in the involvement of degranulation. So if you can target those pathways, you can find some solution. Now, one of the drug is disodium chromoglycate. Okay. Now, what this drug do? It prevents calcium ion influx into the mast cells. Okay. And if you remember that picture, we said that you know because of one of the reaction, the pores open up and the calcium starts to enter into the cell, right? And that leads to degranulation, right? So what disodium chromoglycate does, it prevents calcium influx into the mast cell, right? So this way it is helpful and it does not allow degranulation, right? There is another drug called theophylline, and this is, I am sure you all have seen, uh, at least if you have not seen with some person, you must have seen that in the movies. The asthmatics, they use a pump, right? Or the inhalers, right? So theophylline is commonly administered to asthmatics orally or through inhalers. Okay. And what theophylline does, it blocks phosphodiesterase. Okay. Now, if you remember that pathway, CAMP to 5-AMP conversion takes place. Okay. But we are blocking this. Okay. So this results in prolonged increase in CAMP levels. Okay. So as CAMP levels will increase, there will be uh, blockade of degranulation. Okay. So this is the mechanism of theophylline, right? Then there are other drugs like your cortisone and other anti-inflammatory drugs. So what they does, they are used to reduce type 1 reaction, right? A number of drugs stimulate the adrenergic system by stimulating adrenergic receptor, and the best example is your epinephrine. We have already talked about it. It is also known as adrenaline. Okay, and it is administered during anaphylactic shock, and we have already discussed the different ways by which it acts by binding to beta adrenergic receptor on bronchial smooth muscles and mast cells. Okay, and that leads to elevated CMP levels within the cells. And if CMP levels are increased, then this degranulation does not take place. Okay, so increased level of CMP promote relaxation of bronchial muscle and decreased mast cell degranulation. Okay, and now we have more such drugs which are called epinephrine analogs. Okay, so they are not epinephrine but similar to epinephrine. Okay, so they were developed that bind to selected beta androgenic receptor and induce CAMP increase. Okay, the advantages of epinephrine analogs is they have less side effects than epinephrine, because epinephrine is a general thing. It will bind to all the receptors and block a lot of things. Okay, but these analogs, they are developed for particular targets. Okay, and therefore they have less side effects. Okay. So you can see this table, you can remember this table. We have antihistamines. What they do, they block the histamine receptors on the target cells. Okay. Then you have cromolyn sodium, okay, which blocks calcium influx. Then we have theophylline, it blocks phosphodiesterase. Okay. Epinephrine, it binds to beta adrenergic receptors. Okay, and then we have cortisone, which reduces histamine level by blocking conversion of histidine to histamine. Okay, so these are some of the drugs which are used for type 1 hypersensitivity reaction. And recent thing is your immunotherapy. Okay, and we have already talked about immunotherapy, if you remember, when we talked about monoclonal antibodies, right? So what happens in type 1 hypersensitivity reaction? The level of IgE increases. Okay, so what you can do is you can make antibodies which can bind to IgE and remove them. Okay, so that is one way how we can do immunotherapy for such conditions. Okay, so उससे क्या होगा? As a result, allergen not available to cross link the fixed IgE. Okay, so if you remember, allergen cross links the fixed IgE, but if you are removing that IgE, then it will not happen. Okay, so we can use humanized monoclonal anti-IgE, right? So these antibodies will bind IgE only if IgE is not already bound to FcR1, right? So in your body, a large amount of IgE is circulating when there is reaction. So anti-IgE will bind to all the circulating IgE and remove it from the circulation, and obviously that will help. Okay. That's all about the treatment modalities, the drugs that we can use, or immunotherapy that we can do for treatment of hypersensitivity type 1 reactions. Okay. So with that, we end type 1 hypersensitivity reaction, and after attendance, we will start with type 2 reaction. So any questions at this point? Any questions? Okay.
No, sir.
Let's have your attendance. And after your attendance, we will start with type 2 hypersensitivity reaction. Okay, Sam.
Present, sir.
Tridiv.
Present, sir.
Manaswani.
Present, sir.
Adish,
Present, sir.
okay, Yuvraj, Yuvraj, Sanjana,
Present, sir.
Sanjana, you are not visible. Okay, Nehal,
Present, sir.
okay, Atoeba,
Present, sir.
Devanshi, Nandini, Nandini, Kshitij,
Present, sir.
Janvi, Janvi, I think Janvi is absent. Shivani, 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 Shakti,
Present, sir.
okay, Rupal,
Present, sir. Present, sir.
Rupal, you are not visible. Okay, Saiba,
Present, sir.
okay, Ishita,
Present, sir.
Namrata,
Present, sir.
Tanvi,
Present, sir.
Yukta,
Present, sir.
Ayushi,
Present, sir.
Vanshika,
Present, sir.
Vivek.
Present, sir.
Okay. So I think only one student is absent, Janvi. The rest are there. Okay. So students, we have completed one very interesting topic of type 1 hypersensitivity reaction. Okay. So now we start with type 2 hypersensitivity, and again it is, type 2 is also very interesting in the sense, again, immunoglobulins are involved here, right? So in the first type it was IgE, right? But in type 2 you will see there are other antibodies that are involved, and again, as you know, we always see immunoglobulins as friends, but sometimes they can create problem for us. Okay, so let's see how it works. Okay, students, let me just upload the slides. Okay, so we are going to now talk about type 2 hypersensitivity, which is also called as antibody mediated cytotoxicity. Okay, so this again is mediated by antibody. So we are not saying it is IgE mediated, we are saying it is antibody mediated. Okay. Now, type 2 hypersensitivity reaction, it involves antibody mediated destruction of cells. So you can see the antibodies are killing the cells which we do not want. Okay, but students, I am sure अभी इस सबसे पहले हमने complement pathway पढ़ा था, right? So complement system, the classical pathway was getting activated with the help of antibodies, right? So the classical pathway was antibody dependent, right? So we all know that antibodies, they activate the complement system. Okay, and when this complement system gets activated, it creates pores in the membrane of foreign cells. And what are those pores called, students? What are those pores called? So I'm waiting for your answer. In the complement system, at the end, some pores are formed, right? What are those pores called? You know, it's a very basic thing, and all of you have, you know, even drawn that figure. So some of the students have also drawn that figure. Ultimately, a pore is formed. So I want to know the name of that pore. So students, find out the answer, because there is no sense going ahead without that.
At the end, C9 was
क्या तन्वी?
the C9
C9 pore? No. So students, find out, check your notes.
Sir, do you mean the membrane attack complex?
Yes. So, you know, ultimately it's the formation of membrane attack complex. Okay. So, okay. So, you know, antibodies, they activate the complement system and they can create membrane attack complex in the membrane of foreign cells. Okay. So that is one method by which antibodies can cause destruction of cells. Another method is antibodies can mediate cell destruction by a process called antibody dependent cell mediated cytotoxicity. This is also called as ADCC. Okay. So we'll talk about ADCC later, but in this process, what happens? Cytotoxic cells with FC receptors, they bind to FC region of antibodies on the target cell and promote killing of the cell. Okay, so these are the two mechanisms, activation of complement system and ADCC. Okay, And antibody bound to foreign cells can also serve as opsonins. Okay, so you can see this enabling phagocytic cells with Fc receptors or C3b receptors to bind and phagocytize the antibody coated cell. And students, I have already talked about this when we talked about the uptake of the antigen by antigen presenting cells. Remember, I said there are different ways. One is phagocytosis, one is pinocytosis, one is C3b receptor mediated uptake and antibody receptor mediated uptake. Okay, so these antibodies, they also act as opsonins, so they go and bind to the bacterial cell surface, and then through the Fc receptors, they bind to the cell, and this whole complex is then engulfed inside the cell. Okay, so these are three different mechanisms by which antibodies can lead to killing of cells. Okay, so let's see now, the different kind of diseases associated with type 2 hypersensitivity reaction. And one of the major disease is your transfusion reaction. Okay, so it's not basically a disease, but uh, if you can just understand, right? If a person is having blood group B and you are giving or transfusing blood group A, then obviously there will be a reaction, right? Because the person who is having blood group A will recognize the blood of group B as non-self. Okay, and there will be a reaction to that because the immune system will get activated and will try to remove whatever foreign RBC has entered the body. Okay, so large number of proteins and glycoproteins on membrane of RBCs are there. Okay, you know that on the surface of red blood cell there are a number of proteins and glycoproteins encoded by different genes, alleles. Okay, we can leave that. Okay. Okay. So what are transfusion reactions? So there is sometimes what happens, there is severe blood loss or low blood levels. So in patients, suppose किसी का accident हुआ, right, and there is a lot of blood loss. Okay, and in some conditions there is very low blood levels after some disease like cancer or something. In class कोई आया? Okay. At 10:15. Okay. So, in such conditions, there can be a need of blood transfusion, right? So, I think we all know this. So, we have seen in movies, किसी का accident हुआ, blood loss हुआ, doctor will say that go and find blood for this patient. Okay. So it's a routine procedure that adds donated blood to your blood, right? Blood transfusion can be life-saving, so we all know this. However, it is important that blood is accurately matched to your blood type, right? So again, we know that we have also discussed this in the practical aspect about ABO blood grouping, right? And we know how ABO blood grouping test is done by agglutination method, right? Again, we use antigen antibody interaction, right? So I think we discussed about agglutination reaction and antigen antibody interaction and ABO blood grouping when we were talking about monoclonal antibodies. Okay. Now, the problem is if the blood type is not a match and you have done transfusion, then the transfusion reaction will occur. Okay. Now, these reactions are rare, obviously, now because the kind of technology we have, right? there is very less chance that there will be a mismatch. Okay, and we all know our blood groups, right? In fact, I know on your Amity I card, at the back side you will also see your uh, blood group, right? So we know our blood group. So usually it's very rare कि किसी को गलत blood group का खून चढ़ा दिया जाए. Okay, but they can be harmful to kidneys and lung. But if such thing happens, okay, it can be harmful to the kidneys and lungs, and in some cases it can be life threatening, but it's again very rare, right? So doctors may recommend a blood transfusion if blood is lost, or they are not producing, or the body is not producing enough blood. Okay, and this could be due to various reasons. So there can be some illness, right, after a surgery. So during surgery there can be a lot of blood loss. So after surgery, okay, after a cancer, right, various infections. So like, if that after, in some cases of dengue, the patient need to get the platelets, right? So in that case sometime we give blood. So after some infections there can be need for blood transfusion. Okay, burns, injury, and various other medical conditions. So you know for a lot of things, blood transfusion is required, and it's a very common procedure in the hospitals. Blood transfusion are most commonly done for blood components such as red blood cell, platelets, or plasma. So again, students, depending what you require from the blood. So like in the case of COVID, the plasma was given, right? In case of viral infection, we give platelets, right? And suppose if there is a trauma accident, then we give the whole blood, right? So before a blood transfusion, a medical provider will draw the blood and send to a laboratory for typing. Okay, so whenever we give transfusion, the blood of both the donor and the recipient is matched. Okay, and how it is done, that we know. So I am not discussing this aspect. We already know these different types. Because okay, so now if a laboratory gives wrong type of blood, immune system will detect any foreign particle on the RBC, okay, of the wrong blood type, and it will attempt to destroy it. Okay, so this is what I am saying. A person with blood group A, okay, and if by accident you have transfused blood group B, then the immune system will detect blood group B RBC as non-self, as foreign, and it will generate an immune response against it. Okay, so what happens? Most blood transfusion reactions occur while receiving blood or immediately after. Okay, now this is again, it is immediate, right? What happens while the blood is being given? The person may start showing the symptoms. Okay, a doctor or nurse will stay with during the transfusion. So usually a nurse or a doctor is around when this transfusion is occurring, and they will keep a check on your vital signs and watch for symptoms that may be having a reaction. Okay, so now transfusion reaction, they include like back pain. Okay, very important thing is dark urine. Okay, and students, I'm sure when there is suppose a patient who had an accident, he is under coma, so we insert those uh, you know uh, catheters, right, and we collect their urine, right? So in that case you can just keep watch at the urine color, right? So if this transfusion reaction has taken place, uh, that person will start producing dark urine, and I will discuss the reason for that. Okay, there can be chills, there can be fainting, dizziness, fever, flank pain. So this is your flank. So this is flank pain. Okay, this, so there will be pain in this region, right? Skin flushing. So this kind of skin flushing you can see. Okay, shortness of breath and itching. Okay, so when this transfusion reaction occurs, these are the most common symptoms that are associated with transfusion reaction. Okay, now why this happens? So what happens? The antibody in recipient blood can attack the donor blood if the two are not compatible, right? Okay. Now, if the recipient's immune system attack the RBC of the donor, it is called a hemolytic reaction. Okay, hemolytic matlab hemo, right? Lysis. So lysis of RBC. So hemolytic reaction. So basically जो बॉडी में गलत आरबीसी आ गए हैं, they will get lysed, okay, and can have an allergic reaction to a blood transfusion as well. These symptoms can include hives and itching. This reaction type is often treated with antihistamines. Okay, so there can be this reaction. This I am, not going to discuss with you. After some transfusion reaction, there can be some lung injury, which is called TRELI. Okay, so I'm not going to go into details of this. Okay, uh, I'm not going to talk about TACO. These are detailed things you don't need at this level. Okay. Okay, this is important. The possible complications of a transfusion reaction. Okay, so as I said, जब transfusion reaction होगा, you will see those symptoms like fever, chills, nausea, flank pain, skin flushing, and so on, right? But this transfusion reactions can sometimes be serious. Okay, and these include acute kidney failure. Now just imagine किसी को गलत खून चढ़ा दिया जाए और उसका किडनी फेलियर हो जाए. Okay, there can be anemia, right? There can be lung problems. Like I said, just in the previous slide, there can be this TRALI. Okay, uh, there can be a shock-like uh, syndrome, okay, which can be life-threatening. And I'll just talk about why there is kidney failure in such conditions. Okay, now how can you treat it? So if we observe blood transfusion reaction symptoms, the transfusion should be immediately stopped. So as soon as you get to know that the patient is showing those symptoms, you should just stop the transfusion. Okay, stop the blood transfusion immediately. Okay, and then the laboratory representative should draw blood from you and take the donated blood for testing to ensure that they were matched appropriately. So later on you can do the blood grouping matching to just to see whether it is a problem associated with transfusion reaction or is it something else. Okay, uh, so some symptoms can be mild and it can be treated with paracetamol to reduce any pain or fever. Okay, and this is again very important. Intravenous fluids or medication to reduce the likelihood of kidney failure and shock. Okay, so we give a high load of intravenous fluid, okay, so that whatever has generated inside, it is flushed out and it does not get accumulated in the kidneys, because that can lead to kidney damage. Okay, okay, so Okay, so this is what we usually see. The reaction that begins immediately are most commonly associated with ABO blood group compatibility. Okay, and this leads to complement mediated lysis triggered by IgM isohemagglutinates. Okay, so you can see the mechanism is complement mediated lysis, and if you remember, uh, there was a question also that C8 it can create pore in RBCs, right? So you don't even sometimes need to have the MAC because even till C8 it creates a pore of 10 angstrom, and that is good enough to lyse RBC, right? So within hours, what happens? Your RBC is lysed, your blood cell is lysed. उसके अंदर क्या होगा? Hemoglobin, and I'm sure you have read about hemoglobin in biochemistry. So within hours, the free hemoglobin can be detected in plasma, okay, and it is then filtered through the kidney, resulting in hemoglobinuria. And hemoglobinuria is basically the presence of hemoglobin in urine, okay, and that is the reason why the urine becomes darker, okay. Okay, so some of the hemoglobin it gets converted to bilirubin, and this is again a problem. Okay, because this bilirubin is toxic at high levels, right? So, ek to there is presence of hemoglobin in urine, right? Hemoglobin gets converted to bilirubin, which again is a problem, right? And we have already talked about the symptoms. You know this. Now, what can you do in such case? The first thing is termination of the transfusion, and then another important thing is maintenance of urine flow with the help of a diuretic. Anyone knows what is diuretic? Anyone knows what is diuretic? Okay, so diuretics are the drugs that induce urination. Okay, so you can just imagine in such patients there is a high amount of hemoglobin in the system, right? And that will be filtered through kidney, okay. And if there is so much of hemoglobin, right, just imagine everything will come to the kidneys, and kidneys will not be able to filter that much of load, okay, and that can cause kidney failures, right? So we give diuretic, we give intravenous fluid. So एक तरफ से आप fluid देते जाओ, एक तरफ से आप diuretic दो, ताकि वो यूरिन पेशेंट का आता रहे और वो किडनीज क्लियर होती जाएं, right? So because accumulation of hemoglobin in kidney can cause acute tubular necrosis. Okay, so therefore it becomes very important to maintain the urine flow with the help of diuretics. So you have to give intravenous fluids. You should ask the patient to drink as much they can, so that hemoglobin is filtered through the kidney. It does not get accumulated in the kidney, right? Okay. So students, you can just see this image, and I think things will be clear to you. So uh, you can see here that this is the wrong blood. Okay. So this uh, is the antigen, right? So if it's a person with blood group A, they have the B antigen, right? So this is the antigen. So now what happens when this is a foreign body? Antibodies will, go and bind to it. Okay, you can see IgM will also bind them. Okay, and when this binding takes place, a lot of things happen. Like for example, complement activation, and complement activation will lead to formation of MAC, and these RBC will get lysed, and whatever hemoglobin is there, it comes out, right? And all these HB dimers, hemoglobin dimers, they break down into ferric heme, and that gets into the kidney and start get accumulating here. Kidney will not be able to, filter it out, and that will create problem in the kidney. Okay. So students, this is your transfusion reaction. Rest of the reactions we will talk in the next class. So if you have any questions, you can ask. Okay, Janvi, I can see you are present.
So, what are the dates for our intro to immunology presentations? That was not.
Okay, so I am thinking uh, from the week which starts on 18th, right? So I think we have class on Tuesday. So we'll start from Tuesday. Okay,
Okay.
19th of October.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And students, I also need to conduct your internal. So again, you can tell me a tentative date. So maybe we can keep it on 19th itself, or in that week, or on some Saturday. Okay, so we can decide on a date, and we'll conduct your internal. And again, we need to decide the topics. So I think we can do that in the next class. Okay. So, okay, students, I'm ending the class now.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.